Content warning. Sexual assault and the Winchester brothers' suicidal tendencies are discussed in this episode. Hello, everybody. For today's episode, I'm your host, Taylor, and this is your newbie, Noah. And on today's episode of You Didn't Catch That, we're talking about Supernatural Season 2, guys. Yes, let's do this. I've been so excited.
The nonsense continues so much and so hard.
So, very quick, recap. The first season of Supernatural ended with a car crash caused by a demon possessing a trucker to ram into Sam, Dean, and John. And the Impala. So, that's destroyed. And this season starts off with Sam waking up, convincing the demon to back the fuck off, and then wondering if his family is dead or alive. And it only continues from there! Turns out Dean's almost dead, then he gets better, John dies, and later, another person dies. It's Sam. Sam dies. I don't know why I'm not trying to spoil things. My default is to, not ruin anything, but we totally can here. This is spoilers.
Tumblr's ruined you. Let the spoilers flow freely.
Yeah, so basically...
Nobody can rage you here.
Every Winchester dies at least once this season. This is the season of deaths.
And good riddance to two of them.
Okay, listen, you are allowed to hate on John. Hate on John as much as you want. I'm all there with you for that. Fuck off of Sam, okay? Give him a break. I'm actually going to talk about why he's really unlikable and why people tend to, overlook him versus Dean, especially in these early seasons anyways. But... So, what did you think of the season?
Okay, what did I think of this season? Oh heavens. Okay, this season, as I sort of binged and crunched and slammed my body through it in, it was interesting. It felt like...
You make it sound like you had to force yourself to watch it. Was the first season that bad?
I let it build up a bit. I just put it off a lot. I have binged through most of the season in the last week, so which is a much faster rate of television consumption for me. For me, that's a very for new television consumption that isn't shorter seasons. That was a lot. And it wasn't bad enough. To say the least. It was certainly about the same level of quality as the first season, maybe a bit more. It felt like they had a bit more knowledge. They were a bit more willing to sort of jump into things. There was kind of this trend of being more willing to show the boys in media res, which I really appreciated. And I really like how they took advantage of that in some of the more interestingly structured episodes. I think just in terms of a writing level, I have one episode that's my particular favorite, and I'm sure, we'll get to it. It'll be fun. Roadhouse, it's excellent.
I was waiting for that one.
In terms of overarching narrative, I mean, same as the first season. There's 2 episodes at the start that are about the narrative, and then there are 2 episodes at the end that are about the narrative, and everything else is blissfully distant. With a couple of build-ins and lead-ins and a couple some recurring elements that help you remember. Oh yeah, there's a plot happening in the background. This is the season where we start running into even more people that are like Sam. And some of them even get to live to the end of the episode and get to be women. Which is rare in this show that loves to kill, murder, or violate women in every capacity.
I mean, you are correct.
It's a time. I guess let's start at the beginning here. Why don't we? So, oh man, what to do? Okay, at the start... we're in this dinky little hospital. Dean is nearly dying because of season 1 shenanigans.
Yeah.
John is unfortunately alive, but they have the cult. John's gonna go off and make a deal with the demon to get Dean back, which is fair. Except it's not fair because one Dean is worth 1 million Johns, which I guess is why he has to throw in the cult as well. Anyway, so Dean's out.
Yeah.
Except he's doing you know that one episode of Hannah Montana when she's unconscious and can see herself in the hospital room? He's doing that. He's doing that particular trope.
I did not really watch Hannah Montana. I wasn't a big, band fan. I didn't care about Hannah Montana or the Jonas Brothers after I was 6. Like, I didn't care anymore.
You were not like other girls.
Don't use that fucking trope. That's a bullshit fucking... No, we do not support that here, okay? I went through that phase. Don't bring it up again. You will bring something out in me, especially when we're watching this show, that will not be able to, like, go away for a long time if you do that. Now, continue.
So he's wandering around in his, like, astral projection sort of body mode. Mm-hmm. Wandering is not a spirit per se, but we don't have a word for what he is, so we're going to call it a spirit. Anyway, Spirit Dean meets another girl who's also a spirit, and also a hideous monster that seems to be killing people around the hospital, which is, again, a weirdly dinky hospital. Like, okay, I've not been around a lot of big, like, major city hospitals, but I did grow up in, like, South Bend, Indiana, and, how far out west are they that this hospital, which apparently has enough people in it that there could be, like, multiple deaths within an afternoon, yet is also appears to be about 120 years old? I don't know. I'm not going to parse that. I'm sure they're a thing. I'm just thinking about the health systems I'm used to, out in also kind of rinky-dink areas of the country. But anyway, that's beside the point. What this season seems to really love, and loves to pull out, is the twist reveal identity of the monster. It does so love to do that. Or just of, like, the monster's gimmick. It comes out a lot. It
really tries.
Like, my favorite episode of the season, Roadhouse, does it. Though, like, one of the penultimate episodes, whose name I've never written down. It's the one where Dean gets sent to his magic world by the genie. The djinn.
Yes. Episode 20. It's actually a Led Zeppelin song is what it's... What is and was never meant to be. It's the title of a Led Zeppelin song. I know this song because my mom loves Led Zeppelin.
So, what is and what is what is not meant to be?
What is and what should never be. That is the exact title of it.
What is and what should...
I would get.
What is and should not have been is...
No, don't... That's not how the title goes. Oh. Anyways, yes, the genie episode.
Exists and should not exist in the future. Also, twist, yes. Oh, the world is fake, but also the girl that you've been seeing is real. So there's a weird, twisted reality here. The big twist in, like, the second episode of the season is, hey, this girl you've been seeing that you think is also dying is actually a Reaper. So she's like a death. She's like a secondary death, which is appropriate because her entire characterization is just a Dollar Tree version of Death of the Endless from Sandman. She's just, like... The most hollow version of that.
That is exactly who she is based off of. Her character was originally inspired by Death and Sandman. But you are correct. There is a hierarchy to death and who gets to kill who and how that whole thing works. And this is the second Reaper we've seen. The first one didn't get to have any personality. He was an old man.
Oh, yeah. He's just sort of lumbering around.
Who was trying to kill Dean.
Being a bit of a lurch.
Who was trying to kill Dean in season 1. Which, just want to point this out. In the first episode of the second season, Dean almost dies. That's twice in as many seasons. Both times he comes face to face with a fucking Reaper. Okay? Like, and then he ends the season with making a deal with a demon to die in a year. This boy has so many red death flags. And, like, the Jin episode where he almost dies again. Just everything. Everything with Dean Winchester is hinting at death.
You mean the one where he gets out of the Jin world by killing himself? You think that maybe we said this in our reaction video. This entire season's core theme is Dean is depressed.
Dean is depressed. Dean is suffering from suicidal thoughts and attempts a couple times. And just that's the whole season. Dean is having a bad time, and Sam is having a crisis, thinking he's a monster, and doesn't like know what he is or how to identify himself, or like he's suffering from a sense of loss of self. Dean is suffering from full-on fucking depression.
It's a bad time to be a Winchester this season.
It's It's always
I
a
mean,
bad
like,
time to be a Winchester. Give me a good time to be a Winchester. If your father is John
man.
Winchester, it's always a bad time.
It's such a bad time. Discount. Oh man.
Go ahead.
I mean, discount death. I don't know. I'm still stuck on her. I'll admit.
Go
Just because
ahead.
it feel learning she's based on death at the endless. Because okay. This death seems to Reaper. This Reaper is characterized by like this permanent bedside manner. She's all about making sure Dean feels comfortable and explains to him, "Hey, you know where spirits come from? They're people that say no to me, stick around, and I guess go crazy," which is terrible. Which is
Yeah.
a terrible way to imply your spirits come from. Oh, they just all have actual literal mental illnesses. They're not like some fascinating subhuman part of their psyche that is lingered on.
I do. Okay, so this is somewhere
That
where I
gets
have
thrown
to,
out later on this season.
this is some place where I have to step in and actually correct you on something, because while that is how the information is presented in the episode and that is what she says, not everybody gets a chance to have their deaths explained to them. Sometimes Reapers just fuck up, or a ghost is so already unable to accept that they have died, they don't even see the Reaper. They just completely block out the fact that they died. So, the show doesn't do a great job of explaining that and like setting up the boundaries and rules right off the bat when you get that information from Tessa. It's really, oh yeah, her name is Tessa. And it's really easy to mistake that set of rules from her as like the given. But not all ghosts get to say no to a Reaper.
Forgive me for assuming the rules that they gave us were the rules they were following. I'm so sorry.
There's different sets for different creatures, okay? It's so much. It's a ride to try and follow.
And that's the thing. They make fun of me specifically. They sit me down and they make fun of me specifically in this season. And I hate them for it. What is it called?
Noah.
Oh, it's not Born of
Noah,
Roadkill.
No. Are you talking about the Hollywood movie? Yeah.
Episode 18, season 2, Hollywood Babylon. They sit me down personally. They say, "Noah, I'm talking to you." They sit me down in a room. They say, "You're like this man," and this man in this case is like an executive producer of a horror movie that's like nitpicking. This horror movie is the set where all the creepy is happening, and he's just like he's making all these like studio notes that are intentionally like references to things that they would have been critiqued for the first season. Rightly so in some cases.
True.
Like one of the things he says is, "Hey, what are the rules? This doesn't make sense." And I'm like, well, first of all, they don't make sense. You're right. It is stupid to critique the supernatural stuff for having inconsistent rules. But I wasn't the one that decided to write down that there were rules in the first place. Okay?
I mean, valid. But also, I just want to point out, I am 22 years old. I am a woman. I was watching this show when I was a child and a teenager. The amount of times they call out their teenage female viewers specifically, oh my gosh. All the seasons. And the amount of
They
bullshit,
do the Sherlock thing.
the amount of bullshit the female viewers got for saying how we were ruining the series by watching it because we were taking away from the male gaze. Yeah, no, there's a lot.
Hey, on the subject of the male gaze.
Yeah, let's continue with that.
This is sort of the season where they kick it up from like a couple of homophobic jokes.
Yeah.
Or like, they had it in season 1. I was willing to dismiss it as like
the time.
But now I realize, no, that was full on, and they cranked the dial up another couple of notches this season too.
Yep.
Oh man. Episode 11, Plaything, or as I call it, Racist Shining.
Yeah.
They just do it every time, and I guess it's gonna happen whenever we have an episode that takes place at a hotel. The running gag in this episode is that they stop at the hotel, and when they say, "Hey, we just like a room," every time like a hotel worker sees them, is like, "Oh, Here for the antiquing? You look like antiquers." And then they're like, "No, we're not gay." Which, first of all, I'm pretty sure you're stealing the antiquing equals gay joke from Frasier. Pretty
Probably
sure.
are.
I could be wrong. At this point, it's just, that sort of like motif of like the mistaking the boys are gay And then later on, in like there's an episode where they do a Rashomon where we're following each boy's perspective on like events, and they're clearly like really wacky, different perspectives that really exaggerate the personalities. We see like in Dean's perspective, he sees Sam as really effeminate and really loudly coded gay, from his point of view, like his memory of things, which to me felt like a double queer baiting, because not only did he imagined Sam as very like queer coded, he imagines himself as hyper het, which feels like, oh, you're compensating. Yeah, this is a 2-for-1 queer bait you're giving me. I get it. I get that you want a queer bait.
And then he also gets called out for overcompensating in that hotel episode by Sam. And what does he do for the rest of the episode? He turns on the masculinity even more and makes fun of his brother every time he sees him, to establish that he is again not overcompensating and is comfortable in his masculinity and not at all gay or bi.
I'm so comfortable in my masculinity, I'm going to make an elaborate fantasy about how you are really into dolls and use that as a way for us to get access to the dolls we need to look at.
Yeah.
I am so confident in my masculinity. I think this is hilarious, imagining you as a person that is into dolls.
So, one thing. You want to know who's really confident in his masculinity?
Tell me, who is so confident in his masculinity?
The trickster.
Oh my gosh, the trickster.
Second thing,
That
before
trickster.
we get off track, second thing. Dean does that a lot. And that's something a lot of viewers pick up on right away, especially those in the LGBTQ community who pay attention for those kinds of things. It's gonna keep happening, and it's gonna become more apparent, and this will not be the last time Dean's sexuality is questioned by an outsider, and the Dean immediately deflects that onto Sam, as if Sam is the one who could be.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say a lot about this, but I can't without spoiling half of the show. So, continue with your thoughts. I'm going to sit here steaming, angry, wanting to rant, and like in half a year we can have a full-blown dissection of conversation about this. Because you're right. They do that a lot, and the homophobic jokes aren't funny, but there's really no but to it. The homophobic jokes aren't funny. However, it almost comes off as if Dean says a lot of them and makes a lot of them because he feels like he has to, and that makes me wonder if it comes from his dad. And I'm not the only fan to have watched the series and think that. And it's never directly confirmed, but it really feels like it comes from John Winchester. Like, in the episode with Night Shifter, Agent Henriksen rings the bank, and, well, Dean lets a person out who's having a stroke, and Agent Henriksen calls him out and talks to him about his father, ex-Marine, blah, blah, blah. And he says he's trying to figure out what type of crazy John Winchester is. And the first thing the fucker goes to is white supremacist? And if that's what people in the universe of Supernatural think about John just from hearing about him, what the fuck else did he do? Like, he's dead now. We don't know. We don't see. But he feels like that kind of guy who would be homophobic and would probably instill that in his children.
Yeah, I mean, we've established John Winchester is, like, built of red flags. Like we said, when your wife dies in a tragic fire and, like, things are weird and strange, your first reaction is not, I'm going to drop my entire life, abandon every relative and friend I know, take my 2 boys and train them to be super hunters. Also, yeah, I'm going to adopt the belief that supernatural predators exist, and also that it is my obligation to hunt them down and single-handedly kill them as part of an elaborate revenge for the death of my wife. That is not normal. That is a you thing. And someone who takes that level of extreme hatred, one wonders what other extreme hatreds they were harboring around. Especially someone that was in the military in the early 2000s. I'm
Yeah.
just saying it
It's-
was a thing,
It's kind
and
of
it continues to be a
suspicious.
thing.
It's kind of suspicious.
I'm just saying, I refuse to believe John Winchester did not, like, if he didn't already, was not immediately on board the hatred of, like, Muslims or anyone from the Middle East after 9/11.
I believe
I
it.
refuse to believe John did not, like, immediately, like, re-enlist if it was at all possible after that.
And I just want
I like the man that...
I just want to establish real quick, none of this is a conversation about the actor's beliefs. We are not getting on the actor. He's fine. I don't know him personally, but he seems fine. We are getting on specifically the character, so if anybody comes at me talking about how he's great as Negan, you can keep it to yourself. I know. I don't care.
Of course he also plays
But
Negan.
that's not who we're talking about right now.
I've never seen that show, but I did read the comics, and of course they'd get this guy to play Negan. He seems to be an expert at playing psychotic, abusive white guys with too much power.
I'm not getting into Negan. I can't stand him. But yeah, no, he seems like that kind of dude. And he wasn't in the military in the early 2000s. He was in it in right before Dean was born. He left right before Dean was born.
Okay.
So he would have been in it in the 70s, which is even better because Dean and Sam were born in the 80s.
I suppose that adds up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that does. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I was like,
So he would have
wait,
been in the military in the 70s.
Wait.
I don't have the entire
70s.
Supernatural timeline memorized, but yeah, that's roughly when he would have been in it.
I forgot that their lives didn't start when the show started.
Yeah.
That
I know,
timeline
easy to
doesn't add
do.
up.
Easy to do. But he hasn't been
Oh
in the
my
military
goodness.
since before Dean was born.
It's a time, that guy.
It's a fucking time.
Yeah, I absolutely believe. Although this show certainly has some interesting beliefs of its own, don't it?
Yeah.
For example, the weird running motif of, and this is, I'm going to get this as specific as I possibly can, adult black men that hate the Winchesters specifically, that see the world in terms of black and white morality, and are also relentless hunters with absolutely no mercy for the things that they hunt.
Gordon.
It only happens twice,
Gordon
but
Henriksen.
it's weird that it happened twice.
Gordon and Henriksen. Those are the two you're talking about, right?
Yep. I'd have 10 cents, but it's weird that it happened twice.
Gordon also.
And it's weird that those are the only two repeating black characters.
Before
Jack shows up, I guess.
Repeating. Oh, wait, no, yeah, you aren't talking about Jake. You're talking about Henriksen. Yeah, because I was about to say, Jake doesn't repeat. He shows up in 2 episodes. And they're
That's
back
as many
to
as
back.
Henriksen. Well,
And they're
that's as
back to
many as the
back.
Hunter showed up.
That's fair, but, like, they're back to back, and it was part of a 2-parter that aired together, I think, so I wouldn't really count that as him reoccurring. Go on, if you have more to say on that.
Like I said, it's weird. It's weird that you would, it's weird that you would make the only characters of color the ones that also see the worlds in, like, extreme binary, and use them as a contrast to help your white characters learn to see the world in more shades of gray. It's a weird choice, and it seems to be a choice informed that I assume had to be accidental, just by the mere fact that they don't have that many other male characters in the show, or frankly other female characters. There just aren't that many repeating characters in the show.
Yeah.
And I guess they're just not interested in introducing, like, family friends that are black that aren't,
The closest
mammy archetypes.
The closest you ever get is Missouri, yeah.
Yep, Missouri.
And if that's the only black friend John has, what does that say about him? Listen,
Nothing good.
we don't like John Winchester. It's
We
been
stand
established.
Missouri,
He's
but also
horrible.
we recognize her problematic, like, origin as a character.
Yeah. So one of them you're going to find out doesn't actually see everything in black and white. He is complicated. He just believes the Winchesters are pure incarnate evil because he thinks they are mass serial killers who keep prancing around the country killing people.
I suppose if I was, someone that became a cop and I encountered those, I would also probably have similar views. But I'd also have to be a
Exactly.
cop first.
Yes. And also they keep getting help from cops, but only the women cops who keep letting them slide. Cops are all in the series, cops are all shit unless they are A, a woman, and B, they help them get away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's that whole episode where it's in a prison and that's their first male cop friend, which is a fun
Yeah.
reveal. Again, those twists that they like. The twist that the abusive warden was actually their like surprise friend Deacon. I was
Yeah.
like, oh,
That's
huh. Well,
that's
I guess that's a kind of a fun reveal. But, you know,
but
also not great because you're clearly seeing that your friend is a massive abuser because, like, he didn't have to be a jerk to them unless he was already a jerk to everyone else.
yeah. So there's that, but also that ties back into the Gordon thing. I almost called him Randall because he plays Randall Pearson in This Is Us. It's the same actor. But Gordon, not Randall, Gordon ties into that as well because he's also very violent and kind of sadistic in his killings, but Dean's completely on board with it. And even at the end of that episode when they're dealing with Gordon the first time, they bring up how that's what their dad taught them to be like.
Yeah.
And their father is the only other character we know who completely sees the world in black and white besides Ghost, you know, and other monsters who are bad. It's almost like if you have that mentality, you're a bad guy in the series. Unless you're a Winchester. And that will mean something later, but I can't talk about it now. Fuck.
What was the name of the hunter that killed his sister? Gordon?
Yeah, Gordon.
Yeah,
Because
Gordon.
his sister was turned into a vampire? Yeah.
Yeah, his sister was turned into a vampire, and then he proceeded to slaughter her.
Yeah.
Bad Blade? Bad Blade. Can we call him Bad Blade?
God damn it. That is
Bad
a plot.
Blade.
Oh my gosh, that is like Blade. I
just
love
Bad
Blade,
Blade.
and I forgot that.
He's bad. I've never seen Blade. We're gonna have to make an episode out of Blade.
Oh no. Oh.
Why is it every time I suggest we make an episode out of something that you've seen and I haven't, you panic?
Because you always suggest the stuff I watched as a kid that I got hyper fixated on. Next, you're gonna suggest.
What else is this show for?
Next, you're gonna suggest Dark Angel or like the Underworld movie series.
I have never seen Underworld
Oh my
or
god.
Dark Angel.
Oh my god. Dark Angel also has
You were
Jensen
a real
Ackles in
scene
it.
kid, weren't you?
I remember my mom was a
Whatever the
teenager when
overlap
she
is
had me,
between
and she was
scene and
very
nerdy.
well in that. My mom went through the phase the same time I did.
Wow, that's scary.
Yeah. Anyways.
That's
Yeah.
too much scene for one half. Okay,
It
so
is,
like
it
Gordon,
is.
one thing Gordon Fun ties into, another big thread of this season, is a conflict that I brought up in like the last episode that this one actually tackles directly a bit more often, which is, hey, do you hunt the supernatural stuff or do you hunt stuff that's evil? And fortunately, in one of the episodes, they just straight up say that. Oh my goodness, where they just like straight up say in the third episode, Blood Hunt. They're just like, which is I think when Gordon shows up,
It
Dean
is.
just
It's
says
the first
it's our job
episode.
to hunt what's supernatural, and then Sam's like, our job is to kill things that are evil. And then later on in the season, we have like people that come up to Dean and are like, hey, are you gonna kill Sam? Including John, apparently,
Yeah.
because Sam is supernatural. So are you gonna kill him? Because he's supernatural. Isn't it your job to kill supernatural things?
And that's
Uh-oh. Looks like we've got ourselves a moral quandary.
so. I like that because in the first season, you see all the parallels throughout the season with different dynamics in that season of siblings without parents or siblings having to protect / take care of their younger siblings as a direct like parallel to Dean and Sam's situation. In season 2, you get siblings killing their siblings and sometimes parents as well. And that is a direct parallel to Sam and Dean's situation you have for this season. It's almost like they're telling a story with arcs and themes that recur.
Oh, it's disgusting. I look forward to the later seasons when everything is a mess and nothing matters.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Called it.
Listen. But enjoy these first seasons that thematically go well together. It is really interesting because Dean has a very clear moral line. He doesn't like questioning morality or thinking about what is right or wrong as long as he doesn't have to. He's very, again, the soldier theme is what's used for him because he very well fits that mentality of someone who rather act than think on their own. And I say that cautiously because there are several instances where Dean takes charge and is the one thinking and is the one solving the issue. Night Shifter is one of those episodes. Another one is when Sam goes missing. And he doesn't have any memories of himself when Meg is possessing his body.
Oh, yeah. That's sort of the big test, isn't it?
Yeah. And, which, by the way, really, that episode, did you really have to do that to Joe, who is, like, 21 or 20? Because the series starts the series starts in 2005, which Joe would have been 20 in, but ends in it starts in 2006. The season 2 starts in 2006 and ends in 2007. So at that time, Joe would have been 20, 21-ish. And that whole episode, that whole scene with her and Sam is just, God damn it. I know it's Meg, but fuck you, Meg. This is why I have trouble liking Meg.
What episode is this?
It's the fucking middle of the season. I don't even remember because I was so angry and I could barely watch it.
Is it the one where Sam's possessed?
Yeah, Sam is possessed by Meg.
Yeah. Born under a bad sign.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Just the whole, like, Joe getting tortured and Meg trying to play nice guy who then immediately becomes an incel and attacks her.
That happens a lot around here.
That happens a lot. It's really gross. Like, super gross.
As a side effect of it being a part of, like, the hunting supernatural versus hunting evil, like, motif, this is also the episode where Sam sort of decides, is this the one where he demands it, or is that later on?
No,
this is the one where Sam first gets it in...
He demands...
This is when he first gets it in his head that he needs to die.
He demands
Dean
it in
has
the
already
hotel
said
episode.
that John wanted him to be willing to kill Sam.
Yeah.
But this is the one where Sam's like, okay, if I'm getting possessed, you need to promise me you'll kill me.
Yeah.
No, that's later, though. That's in Dollhouse, isn't it?
The Dollhouse episode is the one where he gets drunk and demands Dean promises to kill him.
Yeah.
And Dean does it because he doesn't think Sam's going to remember it. Turns out he does, and Dean hates that.
Whoop.
Which, I don't know. We've seen, again, so, like, back to Dean's moral line. His family's always first. His system is he'll do whatever he needs to for Sam, then John, Mary if she shows up as a ghost sometimes, like in the dream episode. In the dream episode, he does everything Mary needs, and then everyone else. And when it's the everyone else out of the Winchester box, he follows his father's rules or like a kind of guideline he's come up with on his own when he's been just living on his own. Or, like, influences from Bobby and Sam. And if anything from outside the Winchester box crosses any of those rules or moral guidelines he has set up for himself, he doesn't really know what to do. That's Dean's morality. It's been issued to him or taught to him by other people, and the only ones he has strict moral codes for is the Winchester box. Everything else, guidelines, and then confusion. And he doesn't want to think about it. He doesn't want to think about it, kind of like his sexuality.
Hey! These guys are all watching, like, a lot of porn. Did you notice that?
No, they watch a lot of porn. It's really gross. The fact that when Dean walks in and Sam's watching Casablanca, and I remember the title because it's a running gag, that is the one that constantly gets mentioned. There's like fucking 14 of them by the time the series is over. And he says awkward. That's the most reasonable joke there is about it. The other one is the Asian Busty Beauties magazine, which is just gross and just fetishizing and just fuck. No. That becomes a running gag too. And it's not great. They watch a lot of porn, and it's often used for jokes and to remind everybody that, hey, these are two straight brothers who are traveling together. And it doesn't really serve any other purpose. Doesn't really serve any other purpose.
Yeah, there's no, like, narrative they're building up to about how maybe all of that would affect their ability to relate to women or the fact that they grew up with no women in their lives actually would affect their ability to relate to women.
The closest you get to that is when a guy tries to buy porn for Dean to comfort him in a later season.
It's a show.
It's
definitely a show.
It's a show. But no,
It's
they
just
do
a bunch
watch
of stuff that happens.
They do watch a lot, and Sam does at one point call out Dean for it and says that's probably why he can't talk. That's probably why he is a womanizer instead of someone who actually tries to settle down and have relationships. Despite the fact he's the one who dated Cassie in the first season and literally wanted to spend his life with her and told her everything about his job. Sam wanted to spend the rest of his life with Jessica, but didn't tell her fucking shit. If he did, maybe she wouldn't be dead. Huh, Sammy? Huh. Dean's the one who actually told and then got dumped, which, fair. Cassie was smart. She dodged the mess. Someone in chat just said 2 guys chilling in a hot tub 6 feet apart because they're not gay. And
also,
you're right.
they're brothers.
No, that's
brothers?
not. They're not talking about the brothers. They're talking about the guy who buys porn for Dean later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Can we actually?
So hey, on that.
Oh, go ahead.
On that, on this.
I really, if you want to go more into
Subject.
Where you were going with, the womanizing,
of the
feel
motif,
free.
I have nothing. The show likes womanizing. Even when Death was a woman, they had to, be weird and creepy about it. That's a big part of what I didn't like. Conveyed that they didn't understand what made Death of the Endless interesting besides her visual design, which they only kind of, sort of, half-heartedly attempted. Besides making her a woman in her 20s that's kind of dressed up, sort of goth, almost. It wasn't just the visual aesthetic that set Death of the Endless apart. It was also kind of her attitude. Yeah, it was fascinating to see Death presented as a young woman that's really goth, but also she was really cheerful and friendly. But she wasn't all bedside manner, all worried about you and your feelings and making sure you understand everything, and quietly, calmly, happily working away. She didn't take anything. She's like, "Hey, here's the state of things. I know it sucks, but." This is what the world is gonna be. This is how it's gonna go. She had an internal life and interests and a personality.
It's almost like it's almost like the show introduces supernatural, attractive women that are immediately have soft spots and are attracted to the guys because they need them to be presented as their attractive male leads. So, of course, women who know nothing about them and they know nothing about them are obviously going to be attracted to them and help them out and give them good deals. While also kissing them without consent.
The weird submissive thing goes to the worst extreme in that same episode where it's not only did you slander this character that you're ripping off, you've also decided to have her be metaphysically violated.
Yeah.
Because when John makes the deal with the demon to save Dean, she turns at that moment she turns around in the metaphysical space with Dean and is like, oh, "You're not supposed to be here. You're not allowed to." And then demon ghost blasts her in the mouth, and then she's gone.
Yeah.
And Dean wakes up.
I kind of wish.
Which is not subtle in terms of
Yeah.
visual storytelling.
It also doesn't help that later on in the season, you have Dean makes out with the Crossroads demon to strike the deal, but he wasn't aware that it involved making out, and she forced him to kiss her. And then right after that, you've got the werewolf episode where she was mugged by the nice guy neighbor who turned her into a werewolf against her consent without letting her know.
Is that who that was?
Yeah.
I couldn't recognize the face of the guy. I just knew that you knew him.
And yeah, it's the next door neighbor who's the nice guy who takes care of her and is always there for her to cry on. Then the other nice guy best friend who raises the dead for a girl he never had the shot with because she died after finding out her boyfriend cheated on her.
Oh my gosh.
There's just a lot of
capital N nice guy.
There's just a lot of, in the early seasons, there's a lot of obvious, not even subtext, there's a lot of obvious instances of just not caring about bodily autonomy of characters, or not sexually harassing or attacking them or molesting them in some ways. Again, whole situation with Joe and Sam, even though it was Smeg, not Sam.
It's a motif that stretches even beyond the women characters. It just stands out because it scans so horrible with the women characters, and also there are just so few of them, and they all go away immediately after introduction, unless they are working at the Roadhouse.
Yeah, and
like in the Trickster episode, Tall Tales, we see some of that. Like already in season 1, the first violation we see is Dean getting assaulted by a ghost.
Sam got
assaulted without his consent.
Sam was assaulted by a ghost.
Sam, not Dean.
Yeah, episode 1.
Sam gets assaulted by a ghost, and that's like the intro to the concept. And then Tall Tales just goes all out in the most horrible. Hey, content warning here. Should have made some cards for this. We've already started, but a lot of discussion of sexual assault further on for the next few minutes here, I suspect. In Tall Tales, which is the Trickster episode, the big gimmick is that different urban legends are coming to life because a discount Loki is wandering around making them happen. And discount Loki, one of the things he does is to make aliens come real and kidnap a guy. And apparently he watches a lot of South Park because they do the South Park alien rape you joke.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, in terms of the show's problematicness, is a fascinating layer of their homophobia and their issues with heterosexuality and their rapiness.
In the Gordon episode...
And the fact that they don't respect the...
In the first Gordon episode, episode 3 of season 2, not in the second Gordon episode, when they get him arrested, they make a joke about how he's going to be reaching for the soap for a while.
Yep.
And that's just another instance of that. And it's gross. And even though the show was made in 2006, even though the season was made and recorded and aired in 2006 to 2007, that's not really a good excuse.
There is no excuse. It's just a reality of what it is.
It's a product of its time, but that doesn't make it good or excusable.
If you're gonna enjoy it, you have to acknowledge, this is also a part of the thing. You can still like it, and we do, certainly. There's definitely still parts of the show I like, but it also does really gross things.
Dean is super, passively homophobic in the early seasons, but I love his character. I can admit he's trash, but I still love his character.
Oh, boy.
It's not good, and it's something that slowly ebbs away as the series goes on, as I remember. I do not recall it being so obvious and frequent in later seasons, so I don't think it ever goes away completely. Because, I know I spoiled this for you, when angels show up, angels and demons kind of have similar rules where they have to possess a vessel in order to walk around. And those are the two reasons why it never really goes away completely.
I see. I don't want to, but I do.
The whole possession and such. Also,
move on to
the Trickster was the best thing about that episode, but even he used a fake college student, so he can conjure people out of thin air. They don't exist. He was the reason why all that stuff was happening. He conjures a fake student to lure the professor into his office so he can throw him out the window for for having sex with students, and he kills the professor for it because that was just desserts. I can't remember what the other term for it is, so I'm just gonna go with that. But later in that same episode, he conjures more women out of thin air to try and bribe Dean.
Which, hey, you want to talk about coded homosexuality?
And he was going to watch. Listen, the Trickster clearly is into is probably into all people, to be perfectly honest. But I can't talk about him too much.
Can he be a trickster and not be a bicon?
No, I don't think he can. You would have to be, especially given who you compared him to, which is one of the best bicons ever.
Gender is the biggest joke of all, I think, is what tricksters learn.
Yeah. Anyways, but he also kind of... So, I don't know. He also does this thing where in the middle of the episode, he conjures women for himself in order to show that he is the trickster. But that's... And while that's blatant, like, sexualizing and unnecessary, that doesn't feel as offensive as what, like, Dean does at the beginning of the episode or what the professor does or any of that shit. I think it's almost the reason why it's easy to overlook that with the trickster is because he's not affecting real people. These are all fake. It's all fake shit he's creating.
It's a fantasy, and it's a problematic fantasy, but it's still just a fantasy.
Yeah, it's only... His fantasies only become an issue because he literally hurts real existing people with them.
That is when it's a problem.
And that's a great, like, message for an episode, whereas where does your fantasy start becoming problematic? And I think the answer lies in the answer that's in the episode when it starts affecting real living people. That's when your fantasy becomes problematic in a negative way, when it starts affecting real people in a negative way.
So if you came here for serious questions, that's our answer regarding your own fantasies.
I mean, like, what's your opinion on it? Yeah, like, you don't, I feel like it's pretty obvious.
I agree completely. I am on the exact same page. Like, yeah, I think the trickster, is a bad dude because he's hurting people, not because, you know, he has a particular particular sort of problematic kind of fantasy, which is, again, is odd because I still think that the first thing a trickster would learn is that gender is the biggest joke.
Anyways, is there anything else you would like to talk about?
Okay, hey, you know in season 1 how I pointed out, hey, Dean and Sam seem to switch position a lot in interesting ways and like mirror each other? That happens in regards to Dean's suicidalness and also Sam's suicidalness.
Please continue.
Like, I haven't gotten to the point where Dean is asking Sam to kill him, but we have definitely gotten to the point where Dean does literally sacrifice himself for Sam. He has 1 year left to live at the end of the season because of the deal he made. But also Sam, is the first one to make the move, which, as we've established, is in Playthings, the Discount Shining episode, where he asks as a drunk Sam, he asks a sober Dean to promise that he'd kill him if he ever becomes a danger. And then when Dean refuses, later on, we have a werewolf episode where Sam falls in love with a werewolf, but she's a woman, so you know that she's not going to last past this episode.
Only Joe and Ellen get to survive more than one.
Oh my gosh, and they get to outlive Ash. Oh, I'm angry about Ash being dead. I'm so mad. I loved Ash. I love what he represented. I love that he was like the pinnacle of this motif that hunters are not bourgeois. They're all very like...
Well, he's not...
They are all country as all get out. The man was a party in the back.
He's not a hunter, though. And I think that's I think that's why what I like the best about Ash. Though. He's the guy in the chair who does all the background work, but he's not technically a hunter. And for a couple reasons. Also, the fact of just the casual attitude he has toward hunters, he assumes Sam and Dean have no idea what MIT is. Because he assumes all hunters grow up traveling from motel to motel and don't have normal lives where they would know what basic college education is, like what the big colleges would be. And Sam is so offended, but literally, Ash is what Sam could have been if Sam just, like, relaxed a little, and also didn't try and completely separate casual life with hunter life. Sam could have ended up like Ash, but he's a little too stuck up to end up like Ash, or be nearly as rad as him.
Ash isn't even because when he's explaining that, it's not even, like, Sam has no reason to be offended because Ash doesn't mean it like a derisive, you don't even know what Stanford is. He's like, university up, here in New England. He's not even, like, surprised that they don't know what MIT is, that he thinks. He's just like, oh yeah, that's what MIT is.
It's a
Let me
school.
Get to work here.
Yeah.
He's not even like, he doesn't even indicate its significance. He's like, oh, it's just a college. No big deal.
Because Ash isn't a dick, kind of like Sam and Dean are. Ash
Yes,
isn't going to
Ash
say
is
shit like that to actually hurt people. He's just here to have a good time, and if you don't know, he's gonna let you know. And that's how it rolls. That's just how it is. And like,
He's so good, and he'll help
but
you hump
Sam
demons
is
for
so
a beer.
Sam is so offended by half the shit he says and explains because he's no longer the smartest one in the room. And like, you see, it's clear in episodes like the Roadhouse one how young Dean and Sam are. Because while Sam is feeling challenged, feels like his intellect is being challenged by this character who's more capable than him with technology and also research, which are his two primary things. Dean is also being challenged by Ellen, who's the mother of Joe and runs the Roadhouse. And he immediately, like, just breaks. He breaks upon listening to her and her rules about what goes on at the Roadhouse, but he also doesn't want to listen to her the moment they're gone. He wants nothing to do with her the moment they are away from the Roadhouse. But the moment, whenever,
I think I am.
But whenever they walk in, he's like, okay, yeah, I'll file and fall in line. It's fine. It's fine. And that's what he's dealing with as Sam is dealing with the intelligence shit from Ash.
Oh my god!
And it's episodes like that really
that
remind you.
Off.
It is. It really is.
I was so used to them killing everybody off. No regular characters. Everyone must go. This is a closing sale at the Supernatural character store. But I thought Roadhouse kids were safe. I thought the Roadhouse was safe. Dang it!
Why would you think that?
Gonna be home base for seasons to come. I thought this was gonna. They needed a home base. That's why they established the Roadhouse. It was like, oh, they saw that there was a hole in this show. They needed friends and like a home base to go back to. Also, it saves money on a budget-wise sense. Like, it makes sense to have a one set that you can go back to that isn't just roads in the Midwest.
So,
like, oh, logistically, a lot of this adds up why you would have it. And then they burned it down off screen. We don't even get to see Ash die.
This is a point in time where we do have to take some context that was happening in the real world and how it affected the show during that time, because the writer's strike was happening at around the end of season 2 and all throughout season 3, I think. And so that affected the writing. It also affected,
I bet it did.
It also affected which characters could come back. And that's why some characters live throughout season 2, but you won't see them in season 3. Because they couldn't come back because of the writers' protest. So that was also the reason behind some decisions to cut certain places.
Okay, whatever.
They do get a home base, but it's not the Roadhouse.
We were talking about the dueling that Sam and Dean do. D-E-E-L. There's a scene at the end of the werewolf one where another woman asks Sam to kill her, and then he does it, and then he learns the lesson. Hey, don't ask people to kill you.
Yeah, after he already asked Dean to.
Don't ask people that love you to kill you.
Oh,
and he already asked Dean to. And that's, I hope, that gets resolved. Hopefully in the next season we don't have more of each of the brothers trying to kill each other. Hopefully it's hey, let's save Dean's life because he's got a very short lifespan. Let that be the arc. Please, let that be the arc.
I mean, that's gonna be the arc. Plus some sexy demon ladies.
Why can't it ever be sexy demon men? Is that too much to ask?
I mean,
it would come with homophobia. I take
First off, depends on your definition of sexy. Second off, season 5.
Yeah, Yellow-Eyed Demon did look pretty nice at the end of the season.
I'm sorry.
Wrong personality on Yellow Eyes.
Wrong personality. No. Noah, my friend, no.
He was 30 years older and a woman.
Okay. Anyways. I can't get over that. What the fuck? This Yellow-Eyed Demon? Really? He's like the epitome of fucking evil in the show.
I bet he is.
Oh, you're gonna love the next characters that get introduced, and I'm gonna disagree with you so much on them. Anyways, another thing they switch on is actually their perspectives on John. And I wanted to bring this up.
Yes.
Because throughout the whole first episode, I know, I'm going to talk about Dean's trauma again. Listen, it's gonna keep happening. I'm not apologizing.
We need theme music from we start talking about Dean's trauma. It's so Dean trauma.
So we really do. But so in episode 1, while Dean is dying, and he's fighting to stick around, and he's fighting the second time. And he's fighting to stick around and get back in his body and try and stay with Sam and John. I forgot their father's name for a second. It was so bliss. I forgot he existed for like a good second. Perfect. But he's actually watching John and Sam the entire time. And again, this is really good like direction on set. Because every time, even as a ghost, when John and Sam are talking, Dean's right in between them. Even when they're not directly talking about him, or when they're fighting or not fighting, Dean is always right between the two of them, trying to mediate the conversation to keep his family sane, even though he knows they can't hear him. And Dean realizes right away John's lying. And Sam has to hear from Bobby that John's lying, because Sam, while he is smart, and I love his character, was a fucking dumbass and just took his dad at his fucking word. Why would you do that? Don't do that. Even Dean didn't do that, and he was more loyal to him than you were. And at the end of the episode, when John tells Dean to either save his brother or kill him, that's when like Dean's attitude about John completely changes. He's like, fuck this. Fuck this. No, this is wrong. This has gone someplace I can't go with it. This is just bad. No, fuck you. And throughout the rest of the season, we see him dealing with not only the final orders his father gave him, but how he used to feel about him and how he now feels about him, because the only other person he cared about, almost as much as Sam, just told him to kill his number one priority, fucking Sam. That's his little brother. The same person John refused to let Dean have a normal life because they had to protect Sam. And now he's trying to like turn it on his head and tell him to kill him. Yeah. And Dean's not having that. So Dean says, fuck their dad. While Sam is like, I'm so upset that my last conversation with my father is us arguing and fighting. Now I have to be extremely loyal to the man, even though I know he was wrong about a lot of stuff because he's dead and my last conversation with him was yelling at him. And that's another instance where they switch. I feel like, okay, that was probably the most blatant moment of it throughout the whole season, and it comes to a head when they are dealing with the zombie girl. And they just visited their, and that was some other grave episode where Dean refuses to go near his mother's grave because there's no point to it, which also is a reoccurring theme because he also saw no point to an empty grave in season 1, episode 3, and he mocks other people who bury empty graves as well. Mm-hmm. So he just does not care. He just really is not very supportive of like mourning in general, which says something about him, but in that episode, it comes to a head where Dean calls Sam out for being obedient to their dad because of the fight. And Sam's like, yeah, but you're trying to go on suicide missions now. Are we going to talk about that? And Dean's like, no, we're not. We're not going to continue this. Bye.
No talking about that.
It happens when it happens when he's focusing on the Impala. It happens in that zombie episode. And again throughout the fucking season. And I want to talk about it.
Man. They're all just so depressed. Dean is so bottled. He's so, like you're saying, he doesn't know how to mourn. He hates the concept, which, I guess kind of makes sense if like your entire life you've been trained on a blood quest. Yeah. Fueled by the death of your mother. The idea of trying to come to grips and emotionally process in like a healthy way the death of a person would seem hilarious and stupid to you. You don't process things healthily. You bottle it up and become a super soldier. Yep. That's healthy. That's what you're supposed to do. My dad told me. John Winchester, best dad of the year. Except he only beats me most of the time.
Except for when he tells me that Sam has to die, because then he can go fuck himself in hell.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, and then John gets out of hell, which is the
Oh
most
my
disappointing part of the season
god!
so far. Hey, end of the season, they have a big shootout near a pit to hell, which was apparently made or
It was a
found
bunch
and
of
locked up by
burying.
a cowboy.
Yeah, it was a bunch of. It was a huge burial place for cowboys, which I don't know what kind of research they did on cowboys in Wyoming, but okay.
I don't know.
I'm just saying there was a lot of stones there, and I don't think there would have been.
You know, cowboys, a group of people that would have had the money for large graves.
But anyways,
Anyway, I don't think we're talking about cowboy as a recreation, but not as a recreation, as an occupation.
they also get fetishized in this series.
You said that there's like whole cowboy mythos, which gotta say, the idea of a supernatural cowboy mythos, I love it. I love that idea. I'm 10 kinds of on board. Stop trying to rip off Neil Gaiman. You're bad at it. You're bad at it. All you get is the worst parts, and then your stupid parts get in with the rest of the Neil Gaiman.
But
Stop it.
The demon door.
Make your own cowboy mythos.
The
I'm all
demon
on board with
door.
the cowboy mythos.
The demon door.
The demon door. They open the demon door. A bunch of ghosts and spirits come out, including John Winchester, the most evil of them all. And he holds down Yellow-Eyed Man long enough for Dean to shoot him.
Oh my god.
But not long enough for Dean to pistol whip the ghost of his father.
No.
Which really is the true crime here.
He literally stands there and says nothing for a good 2 minutes. A good 2 minutes. He approaches Dean, and then he takes a few steps back, says nothing, but smiles. And Sam's in tears because he's the baby boy who's watching his dad die for the second time. And he wants to say stuff, but he doesn't, despite the fact they have 2 minutes to say something. I don't know, maybe it's supposed to be faster, but we're watching the scene for 2 minutes. No one says a word. Dean is bottling himself up. He's not letting himself cry because he's still pissed as fuck at John for everything the fucker has put him through. But he also is going to miss his dad. And, he wants to, cuss him out for saying killed Sam. But at the same time, he's happy he finally killed the person who killed their mom. So there's a lot of emotions going around. And John, like the dick he is, smiles and peacefully goes into the light and goes to heaven.
You guys didn't know for sure that he was dead. Y'all know that? Remember? They didn't see him die. He didn't explain anything because he's John Winchester, captain of not telling people things. And they just assumed that he had traded himself for a demon. This is the first time you've seen your dad since he vanished almost a year ago. Nobody says anything. Everybody just cries because, relationships with abusive parents are complicated. Anyway, he flashes off and goes to heaven, I guess, a thing that John Winchester deserves.
To be fair, they were well aware he died because they saw his dead body. They saw him drop dead.
Oh, did they?
Yes, Sam.
Okay. I thought that he vanished mysteriously.
No, Dean is the last person to talk to him, and then he goes into the next room, and then he drops dead, and Sam finds his body.
Oh yeah, okay. I forgot. I thought it was like a mysterious vanish for some reason.
Don't worry.
Oh yeah,
I cannot forget. I cannot forget that scene. So don't worry, I got you. But yeah,
man.
You're right. Daddy issues to the max. Because
your dad is like
abusive parents are complicated, or a complicated subject. They're complicated to deal with, and I think the show tries to talk about that because they let Dean get angry at John after the whole orders to kill your little brother who you sacrificed your whole youth for. But they do make a few missteps. It's not immediately bad writing if you write an abusive parent and the children still miss them and want to have a relationship with them and are willing to look past some of the abusive things they are. It is bad writing if you don't directly point out that it is abusive. No one calls John Winchester out on his shit besides Sam and twice Dean.
And also every parental figure they run into outside, but they never say it. They just say that
they are passive-aggressive about it.
Yeah.
They don't ever try to have a conversation with boys. They don't ever listen. They literally say, your father was a good hunter, but he was a dick. that's not directly confronting the issue, and you gotta have the issue
right.
confronted
You're right.
if you're gonna have a good, like, just if it's going to feel like good writing, if it's going to feel
Still better than the MCU.
cathartic or understanding about it. Yeah, but the MCU is really bad with writing, like, parent-children relationships. Look at everyone Wolverine has supposedly adopted throughout the years, okay?
That's not MCU, but I see your point.
That's right. That's not. I'm thinking of the comic.
Oh, man. Logan. Let's watch Logan. Oh, my gosh. Have you seen Logan?
I have.
I like Logan, actually.
We can consider that some other time. But,
Oh, my God. Anyway.
back to abusive pieces of shit. John Winchester sucks, and he did not deserve to go to heaven.
That thread is ongoing and valid. Hey, on the subject of heaven being a thing that probably exists, that they never say exists, but like at this point you kind of have to assume because, like I mentioned while we were watching the finale, holy water's been a thing in their lives, like their entire lives. They never assumed that it came from somewhere.
Again.
And yeah.
Oh no, continue.
And like you said, they interact with a lot of stuff from a lot of different religions, and they don't believe it all is real.
Yeah, so...
Even though it is also all real?
So if you're watching the show Supernatural, you have to take everything in the show, especially with, like, the mythos that is being created with a grain of salt. If they do not directly state in the show that this exists, the boys assume it doesn't exist. They're clearly trying to put Sam as the child of faith, even though he's got the demon blood in him. He's the good boy, the golden child who always did what he was supposed to, the smart one who was able to grow past his abusive parent and try and do something better with life until he gets dragged down by his family. That's basically how the show tries to portray Sam. They always give him an overly positive light even when he's doing shitty things, especially because his older brother Dean cannot and will not give up on him even when he's doing shitty things. So Sam is almost always in the positive light in the show. That causes a lot of people not to like him. Whereas Dean is the one who questions everything, but his dad is a good little soldier who doesn't think for himself enough. Except for when he's hunting and is the atheist. Which is funny because he's always portrayed in the negative light.
Huh.
But
well, it's like maybe the show that's Catholic underneath everything doesn't like atheists.
Maybe. But in the show itself, they interact with a lot of things that exist in different religions. They literally face a jinn. And talks
Except
about how
not...
they're in... except for it's not, and talk about how they're in the Quran. Quran. I can't pronounce words.
Apparently Sam can read the Quran in its original language.
Yeah,
cool. That's how you're supposed to read it.
I don't know. I don't know how many languages Sam knows. It depends on what they need him to know. But yeah, and they talk about that, and again in season 1 with the whole sacrificial farm thing, they talk about pagan religions, and they always brush all pagan religions under the flag of pagan. They don't get talked about unless you're Jewish, Muslim, very rarely, and then Christian. You barely get mentioned if you're the other two. You get mentioned a lot if you're Christian, and if you're not one of those three, you're pagan. Or you're hoodoo and voodoo, which get mixed up.
Oh, man.
Which gets mixed up with each other a lot. They are not the same thing. Sometimes they are connected, but more often than not, they are completely different belief systems. And it can
Take a shot every time they say hoodoo.
It can be argued if hoodoo is a belief system or a practice, cultural versus religious ideals. That's for an anthropology class to teach, which I took on it. It's complicated. Point is, they brush everything off of under very specific, very broad terms, unless they're using specific terms, and then they always make fun of the specific terms. Wiccan, voodoo, hoodoo get it the most, especially in the early seasons. They don't believe in anything, but all the monsters and all the ways to defeat the monsters in those religions are real. That's how it approaches. So their like afterlives do not exist. Their gods do not exist. Only the monsters. And that's just how they've approached everything their entire life, except for Sam, who apparently believes in a Christian heaven and hell. And they know hell exists because they meet demons who say they're from hell. I don't know. It's a great fucking question.
It's a weird, and it's like one they go into in like very specific, direct detail in what's it called?
What's the monster?
I don't know. It's the angel, but it's not an angel.
Oh, the priest. You're talking about the priest episode where they have the whole conversation on religion.
Episode.
The first mentioning...
Yeah, the one where they literally sit down and have a conversation on religion.
The first name dropping of 2 angels. Yeah. I remember that.
Michael and probably Gabriel?
Nope, Michael and Raphael. No, Michael and Raphael are the 2 that I mentioned. The 2 archangels.
Okay. Tasty. It's tasty.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun, and it's... I don't know, hey, at least that, like, whole discussion, hey, is there a good side of the supernatural, ties into, hey, do we kill all supernatural, or do we kill evil stuff? Is there a distinction between the two? And we don't, and the fun reveal is, of course, by the end of the season, when there are a bunch of other discount Sams running around that also have demon powers.
Hang on! No! Andrew is not a discount Sam! You will take that shit
None
back!
Of them are discount Sams.
Jake deserved better
Besides
if he
Andrew,
had just worked with
trash.
Sam. No! Jake is not trash! I will defend Jake and Andrew!
Okay, okay. Interesting characters that get thrown away quickly, as if the show thinks they are trash.
Yeah, that's true. The show does treat them that way.
With that being said, by the end of the season, we have a bunch of supernatural people that are undeniably not evil in some capacity or another. Whether, and the show answers its own question, like, hey, nope, we're about hunting evil. Supernatural is a part of everything. There's still a good side to it that needs defending. Hey, let's talk about them. The discount X-Men.
Okay.
Starting, of course... Hey, we talked about all the queer baiting.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the first open gay character that the show ever encounters. Who's like her 3rd line of dialogue, where she explains how she single-handedly rogued her girlfriend to the grave.
You said let's start with, and I was really hoping it would be with one of the fun ones, but yeah, let's talk about the one character who
Have you met this show?
Let's talk about the one character who had the second least most amount of lines between all the special children, and that is their title. That's their species. They are the special children species in the series. And that would be Lily Baker, not to be confused with other Lilies later on in the series. Lily Baker is only present in season 2 of Supernatural. She's in 1 episode.
20 minutes.
For 20 minutes. She argues with Sam a lot, thinking the rest of them are crazy, until they say, yeah, we all got powers. And then they start complaining about their lives, and she's like, well, fuck all of you. I've got the worst power. I touch people and stop their hearts. I killed my girlfriend. That's how I found out about my power. Then she dies 5 minutes after. Show has a real issue with LGBTQ characters. Like, they do.
You think... It's bad. It's bad. It's so bad.
It's like it's like they follow that. I can't remember what the rule's called, but that old guidelines for movies. If you introduce certain kinds of characters, they have to be punished by the end.
The Hays Code.
The Hays Code. I couldn't think of the name for it, but it's like the show follows that code.
Mm-hmm. It's bad. Oh my goodness.
Don't come at me with later characters. He hasn't seen those seasons yet. He's a newbie.
I mean, and the rest of them, we've already said Andy's great. I love Andy.
Andy's great.
But in the scene where Andy is introduced and we see Andy's van and Dean says,
I like this guy. Okay.
I was like, I do too. I love that van. That's an excellent van.
No, but okay, so I want to talk about Andy a little bit more in a little bit more detail.
Yes.
The shit that happened with Lily was awful, and she was actually interesting. I wanted to see her learn how to use those powers and maybe help Sam and Dean, but she doesn't get used. I think she appears in the anime, but I cannot remember. You don't know about the anime. Oh, there's an anime, Noah. But
Wait, what? There's an anime?
There's an
What?
anime of Supernatural!
There's a supernatural anime?
It got canceled, but yes. Anyways.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What?
But
Why are we not watching that?
because it spoils.
Why are we watching this trash?
It takes everything from like the first 3 seasons and rams it in together and skips a bunch of episodes, so it's like the highlight of the plot and nothing else.
Oh. Ew.
Yeah.
No wonder nobody likes it. It must be trash. The
Anyway.
plot? Ew.
It is the whole kill your gays trope. That's exactly what Lily Baker is in this series. It's what gets. It's the first time it happens in the series, and sadly, it's not the last. But talking about Andrew, this is actually a big character moment for Dean. I know I'm talking about Dean Winchester again. Take a shot. Anyways. This is a big moment for Dean because it's the first time Dean knows someone is supernatural but doesn't want to kill them for somebody besides Sam. He's always, they're the bad guy, we gotta kill him. But he doesn't think it's Andrew. At any point in the series, he doesn't believe it's Andrew. Even when Andrew uses his powers on him and steals the Impala.
Mm-hmm.
Dean threatens to kill Sam because he makes a joke about fucking with the Impala in episode 15, the Trickster episode. I know, I'm tying all my favorites in. But he's just like, nah, Andy's not a bad guy. And I love it because he could just tell by the van and his taste in cars that this dude is not a bad dude.
They somehow made a Kilgrave person that was likable.
I know.
Which is impressive.
It's so cool.
I like Andy.
Andy's
Did he die?
so
Was he
great.
one of the... Yeah, he died.
Yeah, no, he did die. I'm really sad because Andy never gets mentioned again.
No fun characters in season 3. No fun characters. I think that's going to be the big motif.
I mean, we still got Bobby. He's kind of fun.
That's fair. That is fair. We do have Bobby.
He
the
has-
one last shining light.
One
I
last
joked about-
shiny one. The Trickster's not dead
joked about
either.
how
The Trickster's not dead
What?
either. The Trickster isn't dead
Oh,
either.
shoot. You're right. You're right. You're right.
2 funny characters who
man.
could come back.
Oh man, we're getting really low on time here. Actually, I should have given the half-hour warning like 20 minutes ago. I'm so sorry. Look, I've hit on I haven't got a chance to blab about how much I love Roadkill, but I live with that. Go watch Roadkill. You don't need context for Roadkill. Roadkill explains the whole all the stuff you need to know to watch it. It's an excellent entry point episode, even though it's in the middle of the 2nd season. I don't know why they thought they needed an entry point at that point, but solid episode, solid display of the twists that they love to do in this season. Well written, tries to re-explain the spirit mythos in a way that's better than the they all have mental illness explanation, which is trash. Excellent episode. Go watch that. It's on Netflix. Have a good time. Season 2 episode, I don't know. It's Roadkill. Watch it. Great episode. Hilarious name in hindsight.
I believe Roadkill is either episode 18 or 19 in season 2.
Go watch Roadkill. It's a fun time. Well constructed episode.
But she is a different kind of ghost. That's why the rules are different for her. There are species of ghost within just the big ghost spectrum.
But they do explain what the Winchesters understand the general rules regarding spirits to be in a way that clearly is meant to serve as an entry point for the viewer as well as for this ghost person. So what are the things you want to talk about that we can hit here?
I do really want to go back to the special children for a moment because they could have been used better. Can you imagine? And Yellow Eyes explains it all off as this is rapid fire to see which one of your generations survives the longest so you can lead my armies. Because I don't need multiple soldiers, I just need one. But that's stupid and clearly something the writers wrote just because they didn't want a bunch of OP characters running around. Despite the fact that they literally could have made these guys huge players throughout the rest of the series. They could have dragged that out for so much longer, but they didn't want to, so they had to get rid of all of them quickly. Can you imagine Lily slowly learning how to control her powers? And if if she's with Yellow Eyes, she's a badass leading part of his army going up against the Winchesters, and they have to figure out how to get to her without being touched by her. But if she was on the Winchester side, then you could have had a whole arc with her learning how to control her powers, with the Winchesters helping her out while they're wary of her, and Dean having to see, like, oh, there are more people like his brother who are supernatural and decent, but just can't control their abilities. Like, Andy? Oh, man. Andy would have been a great fucking regular in the series. And he doesn't get mentioned ever again after this episode.
We standy.
After the season 2 finale, Andy is never mentioned ever again. It's like they forgot he exists. Yes. Ash gets mentioned again. But Andy never gets brought up ever again.
Poor Andy.
Yeah, no. Andy got fucking screwed. Jake.
Yeah.
If he had just explained what the demon had on him with his mother and sister, Dean and Sam could have helped. But he never tells Sam, so Sam doesn't think to offer that help. He just says, dude, we can survive together. You know I hunt demons with my brother. I told you in the first 5 minutes I met you. Like, if he had just been honest, they never would have killed him, and the army wouldn't have gotten released, and, like, come the fuck on.
And, of course, Ava is just another one of those female characters that develops a romantic relationship with one of the brothers and then has to vanish by the end of the episode because we can't let that happen.
She doesn't develop a romantic relationship.
No, she doesn't. She's just like a friendly female character.
Yeah, no.
I was thinking of the werewolf, I guess.
The werewolf, yes. Joe, yes. Ava's not. Like, don't drag Ava down in that bullshit.
Ava's just a friendly fellow that vanishes at the end of the episode because we can't have that.
Yeah, and then it turns out she's been conditioned by Yellow Eyes the entire time to become an ultimate super soldier for his army. Which is interesting and a good plot, and I would have loved to see more of them pit against each other. And for, like, a longer period of time than just 2 episodes of a season.
No soup for you.
No.
No soup for you.
You know what I can do, though? I can write fucking fan fiction.
The ultimate answer. You just pull out your Wattpad account. You know what I can do.
I don't have a Wattpad account, but I do have an archive of our own, and you can bet I'm working on some Andy shit right now.
Oh, man.
Send your wants my way, Noah. I got you. We're gonna fix this together.
So that's what we're doing. At the end of every, like, long season, we all write a collective fanfic that solves the problems we have with the show.
Yes.
Maybe we should do that. I don't know.
Oh, we should!
Write that down. We'll do it. I'd love to work on that.
I got it.
Okay, so in the last episode, I sort of said that I'd like to be able to guess what I think are the big show's problems that lean it down the trash fire that I don't know the details of, but I can see and feel the heat in the distance. 13 years ahead of time, I can see the bright flames burning, just from, like, the surroundings, because I'm living around in the trash fire. I just haven't gotten there yet, perception-wise. My guess is that this whole second season ending reveals another big problem with the series. Like you said, there's a lot of great ideas here, except they've required a commitment, and this show hates commitment.
Almost like as much as Dean Winchester.
Every time it makes a rule, it has to renege it. Every time it kills somebody, it has to bring them back. Every time somebody shows up who's not been a regular, they have to go away immediately somehow. John. Y'all this show hates commitment. That's why it's going to keep having all the episodic episodes I like at the cost of everything around them slowly melting away until we're focused on the plot and it's built on no foundation.
And, like, some of those rules have to go away because otherwise they would destroy the writing of the world. But if they destroy your writing of your world, that's an issue you should have addressed before it became permanent. And yes, I am talking about episode 8 of season 1, Bugs, the whole Native American curse. Thank you.
And also, like, the trickster being a repeat of the idea of belief magic, but not being belief magic because he's just a trickster having a good time playing on beliefs.
Yeah, no, that doesn't matter. He has ultimate power that cannot be
I know
challenged.
it doesn't matter. It's just like you're playing the same game again, except with a different answer.
Except for the fact, I'm just gonna tell you now. Except for the fact that that's a lie. Tricksters aren't actually powered by that. They tricked hunters into thinking they are. That's not. It's another rule that just gets totally written out.
But I don't think they are. It wasn't really just that I thought he was powered by belief magic so much as I thought it was going to be the same Hindu rune.
No.
You know, you remember when the Tibetan monks meditated the Jewish golem into existence?
So
you remember the Hindu golem?
Okay, yes I do. But
you remember the Hindus remembering the golem?
I mean, that is brought up again. Hindu beliefs. No, but Hindu beliefs are brought up again in this season. I cannot remember exactly where, but I saw it. I was like,
Hindu beliefs.
No, what I'm saying is, they brought up specifically Hindus as the creators of a belief within the series that I don't think was actually accurate again, but it couldn't. I didn't write it down.
Shout out to the Rakshasa.
I didn't write it down because I was already so upset about fucking. There was something that they Croatoa.
We didn't get to Croatoa. The end of this episode is straight Croatoa. Let's get into the Croatoa.
Oh my god!
Let's go.
That's so wrong. Okay, no. So this show has a really bad instance of taking real life events and people and then fucking them over. All right. So the Hellhound episode where they show the guitarist. He's actually the best guitarist ever recorded in the whole fucking world, and you can fight me on that. And yes, he did make a song about hellhounds. And yes, there were rumors he sold his soul to the devil. But actually taking a famous black artist, one of the earliest people who made blues big and has amazing musical talent, and you're just gonna say, oh, it was all thanks to the devil and that's why he died? No, that was a rumor. You don't take real people. You don't do that. The H.H. Holmes things. You don't take a real person and turn them into a fucking ghost for your main guys to kill. And then Croatoa. Fuck. Okay,
Croatoa.
So I'm an anthropology major at my school. We have talked about Croatoa. That shit has been solved. Everybody likes to say that, no, it hasn't been solved. It's still a mystery. They all vanished without a clue. But they didn't. I can't remember the captain's name, but the captain literally had his family there. His daughter and his granddaughter was there. His granddaughter was the first white person born in the United States, in North America, from settlers. She was the first person. And then he left to go sailing across the seas to get more supplies or something. I am really summarizing this since we're running out of time. Mm-hmm. But he told them if anything were to happen and they had to leave, write the name of the place they were going and he would find it and come find them. So they did leave because they didn't know how to work the fucking land and they didn't know how to survive on their own. So they went to the Native American villages closest to them, and it's literally the name of the fucking people who took them in. Croatoa has been solved. It was the village they went to, and then he was just like, nah, my family, my people would never go and associate with the Native Americans. That's not what they would do. And then he didn't believe them, even though he told them to do that specific thing. Didn't bother going looking around for him, and just reported back to everybody else that, oh, they all must have just disappeared. That's false. That's not how it fucking happened. They literally got assimilated into a Native American village who helped them survive in North America. That's literally what happened. That shit has been solved. Stop trying to use it for your stupid ghost shit. Read a basic history book.
Is they think that they've figured out what Croatoa was. It turns out it wasn't people going to the, starving, it wasn't starving colonials going off to survive with the people who had been living here for hundreds and thousands of years. It was actually, get this, a demon virus. They go to this town, it has Croatoa carved into a telephone pole, and they're like, oh no, whatever happened to Croatoa is going to happen here. It's a demon virus. It's infecting people and getting them angry, and you have to do a blood test because I guess we're ripping off the Thing now. Whatever. I guess we're just ripping off all the horror movies in this season. And then they just do the whole episode. But also they go full oh my god, Night of the Living Dead at the end, where like
Yeah.
everybody's angry and wandering around, and there's one black guy who's super competent, and you're like, oh man, you're not gonna make it, are you? But he does. He just like wanders off and he gets free. Don't worry, he's all right. Our
And
boys
in
are
both
like
the
left
black
abandoned in this.
and both the black guy was my favorite in both those series because they're the most competent.
Oh my gosh.
Both the
Anyway,
movie
at
and
the end
the
of the
series.
episode, the handful of people that weren't infected go off, leave Dean with Sam, who was infected, except he's immune because he's got demon blood. Anyway, Dean and Sam get up and like, okay, we're gonna face our death. Except the town is empty because whatever happened to Roanoke happened to this town. Except your premise is stupid because Croto isn't a mystery. And I can't even hate like.
BuzzFeed Unsolved also did an episode on this where they totally did not acknowledge how it had been fucking solved.
It's so, oh my god.
It's
not even a
figured
problem.
out.
The problem is not with the like higher concept of the episode. Doing the thing, doing a Night of the Living Dead. That's fine. Go to town. Have a town vanish. That's excellent. Very horror. Very creepy. A lot more destructive than most Supernatural episodes. That's a great twist. Don't tie it into stupid racist history mysteries.
Thank you. Just don't do it. Also, stop taking
Don't do it.
real people, especially people of color, and fitting them into your demon mythology. Stop it. No, don't do that. Stop trying to like say all their accomplishments were just because they made a deal with the devil. That was a racist fucking myth.
Oh, hey, also, hey, do not, abso-fraggin-lutely, do not keep picking up critters from different, separate, actual, real-world living religions and then put them in your world, which is established to be canonically Catholic in nature. Because what you do is you conflate them with the same level of unreal fictional supernaturalness.
And then you
also,
prove one
if you're gonna do
exists
that,
and the other isn't.
The other is slightly less real than the other. But also, hey, if you're gonna do it, which you shouldn't have, but you did anyway, because you're stupid. You did it anyway.
Stop.
Don't feel obligated to reinvent them for a fun twisty twist. Stop doing that. Do your research at the very least. At least the Wendigo was like
No.
It was next to, it was not in the ballpark, it was next to the ballpark.
Except for the
it had a
fact
core thematic element similar, but
except for the fact they associated it with
gin.
except for the fact they associated it with the wrong tribe, they used the wrong language to fix it, and they got it in the wrong fucking area too. Everything about the Wendigo was wrong. Stop trying to No, stop using those creatures. Just stop. And stop mentioning skinwalkers.
Stop it. I take it all back.
Stop
it.
Stop
it all.
using
Make your own
skinwalkers.
critters.
Stop using skinwalkers. There are plenty of creatures in different mythologies that transform that aren't skinwalkers who are considered extremely evil, and the native people the native people that those myths are a part of their culture don't want to see them in media unless it's by the people who are part of their culture. Stop using skinwalkers. Stop mentioning skinwalkers.
Hey.
Stop it with the Wendigo.
This is a season ago. I'm still mad about it.
Oh my god.
If you're going to take a supernatural, explicitly ghostly entity from another culture and recreate its story exactly with precise detail, but then also not use its actual name, La Llorona, you suck. You actually suck. You did the work. You did the research. You presented it with authenticity. You found something that actually tied into the stories you wanted to tell and the supernatural rules that you wanted to establish. And then you screwed it up by not citing your stupid sources.
Okay, so that was a really big rant by us. There have been plenty of those in those episodes. There's plenty of those in every episode. But let's end this episode on a positive note, because we gotta do your vocab, Noah.
Okay.
So you can understand what's
Oh my
going
gosh,
on in the
vocab.
fandom. You got
I don't get to rate the
vocab.
episode till I listen to learn stuff. I don't
Yeah.
get to rate the season until I learn the vocab.
You gotta learn the vocab.
School time. Okay, vocab me. Butter me up.
So, there are two terms for this, depending on how you want to do the spelling, and it's Dean Paula / Dean Paula. What do you think that stands for?
It's shipping Dean with his car, right?
Yeah.
It's shipping Dean with his car.
It's 100%
That's
shipping
where the
Dean
people
with his
that are
car.
like, I support that. I think Dean should have an intense, romantic, and perhaps even more so relationship with a sentient version of his car, like Knight Rider.
Oh, I was jumping to like the Doctor and the TARDIS in that one episode
Transformers.
where the TARDIS is a human.
Wait, what?
In
Do I
Doctor
have to
Who,
wa-
Doctor
man.
Who in the 11th Doctor's era, the TARDIS becomes human for an episode, and it's this really frazzled but beautiful woman who wants to get with the Doctor. It's very
The
odd.
more we watch the show, the more I learn about the fandom, the more I feel like I really need to watch Doctor Who to really appreciate the madness. I've seen Sherlock, so I'll appreciate that part of the trifecta, but I won't appreciate all of Doctor Who.
Oh, we're gonna do Doctor Who, you and I together. We're gonna get through at least the
Another
first.
thing for the sci-fi year.
Yeah, we're gonna get through season 1 of at least of Doctor Who together because you gotta meet.
I've actually seen season 1 because season 1
It's
was
the
good. Actually,
best. It's the
it was
best.
solid.
With Rose and fucking Captain. Oh,
And, like,
anyways,
an arc that builds. Whoa.
fucking Harkness.
Crazy.
And moving on. But next vocab,
Okay, moving on.
cute Dean.
Next vocab.
Cute Dean, and you're not gonna get this.
Cute Dean.
Yeah.
Cute Dean. I'm going to say that this is a hashtag for posting scenes when Dean is cute. For example, in the Trickster episode, when Sam imagines them entering the office and Dean stuffs his mouth with chocolate, that was the cutest Dean has ever been. I bet that's the top post for hashtag cute Dean.
No, it's not. So, some information on the actor. Well, Cute Dean is a nickname for Jared, who plays Sam Winchester, based off the fact that he played Dean Forrester in the Gilmore Girls series right before doing Supernatural.
Oh.
So,
Oh.
there's Cute Dean referring to Jared before he became better known for Sam Winchester over Dean Forrester. And then there's Hot Dean. Now, what do you think Hot Dean stands for?
Well, I'm guessing it stands for the guy that plays Dean,
It stands for Dean Winchester.
which is a lie because okay.
It's just Dean Winchester. It's
It's
they were
Hot
tagged.
Dean is Dean, which
Yeah.
is a lie because Hot Dean is also Cute Dean.
Anyways,
He's both hotter and cuter than Sam.
so the brothers Dean.
That's just another word for the brothers, right? And an allusion to the Brothers Grimm.
No, it's actually connected to the terms above, because when the show was first starting out, people didn't really like Sam, but they really liked Dean, and they liked Jared's character in Gilmore Girls, so they referred to them as the
Oh.
brothers Dean instead of the Winchesters.
I see.
Yeah. So, baby.
Baby. Sam. That's Sam.
No, it's the Impala. That's literally what Dean calls the Impala.
Oh, it's the Impala.
Come on. Pay attention. Well, Metallicar.
Metallicar? Well, that's got to also be the Impala,
It's
right?
also
the
the
car that's
Impala.
always playing the...
Listen, baby deserves all the attention, okay? So I had to throw a couple in here for her. But Metallicar and baby,
Baby
are the
does
two
deserve
most
attention.
common. Are the two most common for her.
I was kind of worried that Metallicar was going to represent, like, John Winchester in some way when he
No.
started beating her up in the middle of his rant. So I'm glad that it does not in any way, shape, or form, which is established in the
No.
series. Anyway,
You're talking
more
about Dean. Dean
more
beats...
vocab. We're over already.
Yeah, you're talking about Dean, not John, who beats her up
Dean, yeah,
because he's
not-
dealing with his father's issues, and that was the last gift his father
Dean
gave
beats
him.
her up because...
Yes, that was the last gift his father gave him.
Anyway.
Symbolism. But Blue Steel.
Blue Steel. That's an allusion to Zoolander and something that Dean references when he's making a mug shot. He's
Yep.
like, I call this one Blue Steel.
Yep.
That's whatever fans call Dean's smug, smiley, cute face.
It also shows up on every single gag reel for every season for the Supernatural show. Him and
He just says the word
Jared.
Blue Steel.
Yeah, Jensen and Jared always do at least one Blue Steel pose. When Sam fell on pie.
Yeah, I have no idea what this one is. This one eludes me.
So, at the end of episode 21, where he gets stabbed in the back by Jake, who did not have to do that if he had simply told him more. It looks like he fell on a pie when you get the full view of his wound on his back.
Uh-huh.
So, it's a reference to Sam's temporary death, episode 21 and 22, and how that wound looked, and how it was just wiped away like a pie stain in the next episode. Because you barely see even the outline of where it would have been. Bitch face.
Oh, that's gotta be something to do with Sam, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's gotta be like some particular face that Sam puts on whenever something comes up.
Yep, and a prime example of this is in season 2, episode 15 with the trickster. He pulls it twice in the bar at the beginning. One when Dean is talking to the girl and he's just done listening, and once when Dean is replaying his term of events and he makes the same, even more exaggerated bitch face when he said, "What are you doing?" Yeah, that really awful exaggeration. That's also something that repeatedly gets shown through the series, and people like spotting the bitch face in an episode. So Papa Winchester.
Bobby.
No! It's actually a term referred to as John Winchester, and I only threw it on here because it's the last time we'll be talking about him, most likely, except for in reference to the earlier seasons and, like, allusions.
Oh, man, John goes away forever? John goes away forever! It's a party!
Stop celebrating. He still has an influence on the boys, but it is in reference to John Winchester. I haven't put any Bobby terms on here because we haven't really gotten to see him.
Oh, my gosh. Why... John does not deserve the Papa casual phrasing. Bobby deserves Papa. Bobby is Papa.
Bobby should be. Bobby should have gotten that.
Bobby's paw. Bobby is paw.
Okay, and one last thing. This isn't vocab. This is just a bit of trivia. That vampire in season 2, episode 3, who works behind the bar, Eli. I hope you got a good look at his face.
I have no memory of him.
Because his actor, along with the kid who played Bugs in episode 8 of season 1, they come back and play completely different characters.
Oh boy, I look forward to you pointing it out and me having no memory of him.
Yeah, no.
I'm like, oh wow, that's crazy.
Yes, Bobby is a superior father figure. That's not up for question. But...
Yeah, absolutely Bobby's the superior father figure.
Even in the first episode he's in, he protects Sam and Dean more than John ever did. Like, he actually actively tries to.
And then he, like, is here to try and help them through their trauma for season 2 at the start and end. And he's not taking any of Dean's guff.
No
guff is taken.
And the face he makes me realize is Dean is actually genuinely suicidal and doesn't think his life is worth shit if Sam is not alive and happy. Like, what the fuck? Okay, but...
At least they were willing to commit to keeping Bobby around.
I know!
The cowards in this writing room. I'm sorry, the cowards
Bobby.
that wandered into the empty writing room after the strike started.
So, overall... How would you rate this season?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I know we complained about a lot, but there were some positives.
We complained a lot, but
about Bobby. Bobby
it does. Bobby and Ash were such bright moments in this series, and also episodes like Roadkill, which you should watch, and also the Discount Shining episode Playthings, which is also really good and has some fun like twists around. And the Croatoa episode is terrible in terms of premise, but like at least like the genre fiction ideas
nice.
Where it goes.
The drama
the execution
is nice.
Drama is nice. The ideas are nice.
Side characters are nice.
The characters, there's a lot still to like in the show. We didn't even get to him, but I love the conspiracy theorist guy that thinks it's mandroids. Like, rip to him. Like, he deserved better.
I talked so much about him on my Twitter.
Look, suffice to say, there's still a lot of bright moments in this series. A lot of them focus more on the episodic episodes in my case, but I still feel like they're doing a relatively good job of tying the episodic into the overarching. They could do it better for sure, but there's still elements of like, hey, different ideas and threads that build and like repeat and rhyme. It's still got some good construction. It's still got fun characters. There'll still be times when the stylistic uniqueness that really hooked me at the start of season 1 shows up. They still have that weird color grading that I think makes it look exactly like the Midwest on a rainy day. They still have the great music. Like, still a fun show that I feel like, yeah, I'd watch if it was 2006 and, you know, I wasn't in second grade.
I mean,
so yeah, I'm giving this season another thumbs up. Like, go watch it if this sounds like fun. Although I assume if you're listening to this, you've already seen it and are thinking to yourself, "Oh, poor sweet child." Which is rightly so. I am a poor sweet child that is being dragged through Supernatural. But I'll get my revenge. Next week, I believe I'm showing Taylor the BBC adaptation of C.S. Lewis's The Silver Chair, which will be a great time.
And
it's my Christmas entry, which is Christmas in the sense that it is secular-ish Christian. And that is the only overlap.
You know how much I love C.S. Lewis's work.
It's going to be a fun time. You're going to meet a marshwiggle.
What the fuck is that? I don't want to know. I'll find out.
You're gonna love
Anyways, I've been Taylor.
I've been Noah.
And you finally caught season 2 Supernatural. You're almost to one of the best seasons. You're almost to the good ones. You're almost there.
I can't wait to get to the good ones. If this is just sort of me, like, taking, like, the rough, shoddy starts.
You're taking the rough, shoddy starts, boy. But you're gonna get through it.
Oh, man. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you for watching the video. If you liked our discussions on Supernatural Season 2, please subscribe to support our channel. Likes are wonderful and greatly appreciated too. If you want to see these episodes get made before they're posted up on here, you can find links to our Twitch channels in the description below. We record the episode on both channels at 9 p.m. EST on Tuesday nights. So, what did you guys think of Supernatural Season 2? Did you even remember it?